Well, hi there, One Church family. How are you? Good to see you. I love you. I love you. Man, it's good to be here. My name is Blake, and I'm the lead pastor. I just want to welcome you. I've seen so many new faces today already, and I just want to tell you it is great to have you. And I hope you already feel right at home and that you're feeling blessed. And anybody excited to be in the house of God today? Yeah, come on. Well, it is a beautiful day outside, the sun, the color of the trees. This fall has been fantastic, and I've just felt so blessed this season. I just want to say to all the people that are watching us online, I know it's 31 degrees, and I just want to tell you that it's okay that you stayed home, but for those of us that are here, God loves us more. So you just stay in your socks and your pajamas and pull out your Bible and sip your coffee, and you're still a good Christian, and we love you, but we're more blessed here. So anyways, we do want to tell you thank you for joining us online all around the world. Every week I hear stories of people that are joining us. It is great to have you. And we just want to say to all of you that are here today that this church family is a beautiful family. And it's a rare type of a church family where it really does feel like brothers and sisters in Christ. And I've had the privilege to be all over the world and be in different churches. And I'll tell you that this feels more like a family to me than any family I've ever been a part of. And I just love being a part of this body of Christ. I just want to tell you that. I just love it. So I'm a little bit fired up today. It's weird, I know. But I am fired up because we're starting a brand new series that's called Generosity Revolution. Generosity Revolution. And I'm believing that this series has the potential to actually radically change our heart and to make us different. And so I'm excited to see how God's going to do that in some of us as individuals, but also corporately as a body. So here's what I want to start with. I love being around generous people. They're a blast. They're my favorite people. I also love being around revolutionaries that think differently and blow up the system. It's really weird to be generous. Did you know that? Like, being around generous people is strange. It's not normal to be generous. You know why? Because people take. We take. That's the way that we are hardwired. And so it's up to us to learn how to be generous by revolting against the system that's inside of us. We're naturally selfish. We are not naturally selfless. If you don't believe me, go into the 2-year-old class right now and take one of the kids' toys. Just try it. You will be punched and bit, right? I actually was a biter. In my 2-year-old class, I'm not kidding, I would walk in the class, they would put a helmet on my head because I bite you. You take my toys, right? Born selfish. So from the beginning of this movement called the Generosity Revolution that Jesus started, we have been known as a bunch of rebels and renegades that revolt against the system, and we are revolutionaries. So turn to the person beside you and say, you're a revolutionary. Go ahead. Now, let me tell you the way that Jesus started that. He said something that's radical. It's in Acts 20. He said, it is more blessed to what? To give than to receive. And certainly people, when they first heard that, like, bro, you got the words mixed up, right? It's better to receive than to give. That's not what he said. Revolutionary. It's better to give than to receive. People of Jesus, followers of him, we live by faith, not by sight. We jump. We go. We listen and then respond in obedience to the Holy Spirit because we actually want to be generous with our time and our money. That's what we do. And in fact, I'd even say that when we jump and do and go like God asks us to, a lot of times that causes us to become crazy people, irrational. We do things that are like, what? Seriously? And that's because of the fact that we are a people that bet the farm. We give big. Jesus people love and give till it hurts. And I don't want us to be a people who insult the living God by having safe living and small thinking. I want us to be a people that are not spiritual consumers, but spiritual contributors. Because the church, from the very beginning and to now, does not exist for you. We exist for the world. Somebody say, preach, Pastor. So here at One Church, man, I want us to be a people that are always known for being irrational in our generosity. And so that's what I'm calling my talk today. Irrational generosity. And it's true of you. You people are weird. You're not normal. I've seen it with my own two eyes. People that have given in a way that just makes the world go, how much did he give? He did what? And I got to tell you, I have seen this church live by faith. Doesn't make sense. And as your pastor, I just have to tell you, I love your crazy. Your crazy makes me really proud. And I just want to tell you some of the stories that I've seen just this past week. A family came to me and said, man, this last year we lost our job. We ran out of all of our money, couldn't pay our insurance, couldn't pay our mortgage. And our grow group, not only did they pray for us the whole way, not only did they actually provide meals, but they gave us money and they paid our bills. What? Really? It's crazy. Did you know that this church supports a ministry here in this town? It's one of the largest ministries that provides for poverty-stricken people, called I-58. And every third month we have a massive white truck out front. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's out there right now. You probably walked by it and didn't see it, but our church provides more than any other church in this area. And they depend on us. We give over 1,000 pounds of food every month because you're irrational in your giving. This church started an initiative called the One for One program, where we just challenge our church to give $1 for one person or one family. And so that's a fund that we use for anybody that has need. And so you can right now actually nominate someone that you know of in need, like, hey, I heard about this program. And so we have people come in all the time. And I could tell you story after story of people that have been blessed because of you. We don't always share those stories because we don't want to exploit. We want to protect people's privacy. But as a pastor, I get the privilege of hearing these crazy, stories of insurance and medical bills and mortgages that are taken care of because you say, hey, I want to nominate my friend, somebody I know has a need. And so that's what that's there for. Same with our One Hope Fund, people that need counseling. And you come to us and we have a fund to provide for people that need counseling. And so I love the radical generosity that I see in this church. And so I just want to say to you that to see generosity is beautiful, but the opposite of that, to see the opposite of generosity is what? It's greed. And greed actually is not attractive. You aren't ever drawn to like, man, I just really love being around greedy people, right? Greedies are like porcupines. Greedy people, like they don't walk in packs. They're always alone. That's not true always, but greed is ugly. And it's actually a heart problem. And I don't know anybody here that would say, I love being around stingy people. But we aren't drawn to stingy people because we love being around people that just give and bless and give and bless. And so I want to step into that. I want to step into the fact that some of us really do live only for ourselves, and we don't live to be a blessing to the world around us. And so I talk to my kids about this. I see it in my kids, and I like to talk to my kids about their greed. And so I'd like to do something really fast. Some of them are here. Can I talk to the dads for a second? If my children and my sweet wife come into my house and they place their leftovers or their snacks and their Oreos in my pantry or in my refrigerator that I'm paying the mortgage for and the electricity to keep my refrigerator on. So I have some dads going, yes, come on, preach this, Pastor. So you place your food right there in front of me. There is what I call a dad tax. Amen? And I don't just take 3, I take like 5 Oreos. They're mine, right? And my children, they come in the house and they see me eating their Oreos. Like, Dad, it's mine. It's mine, Dad. And they yell at me. Can you imagine the audacity to yell at me? And they say to me, Dad, you're so greedy. What? Let's talk about your greed to have these Oreos in my house. Can I get an amen, dads? Right? Yes. Okay. I'm glad we established that. So it's true, though. It's true. Stingy people aren't typically happy. You don't meet, those two words don't go together. When you're stingy and greedy, you're usually kind of bah humbug. And because I've seen it happen over time, greed changes people. I've known people before they had a whole bunch of stuff and money. And before they're like, oh, dude, you're different now. Like, what happened? Like, you're so stiff and serious all the time. And it's like money has this way of changing. Jesus warned us of this. In Luke, it says, watch out. Be on guard against all kinds of greed. Because life, are you ready, does not consist in an abundance of possessions. That's what Jesus said. Now, some of you are like, hey, Pastor, can I try that out? Like, would you give me a bunch of abundance of possessions and I'll tell you if I'm happy or not, right? We might know that to be true, but it's like we don't live like that's true. I know way too many people that want and desire to be filthy rich. And that's like what their entire existence is for, like the accumulation of wealth. See, greed happens when we desire the wrong things, our yearnings and our passions. And the Bible calls it covetousness. It's a constant longing for more money and power, more. That's the greatest lie of the enemy of darkness. Did you know that? It started in the garden. This is his best lie. Hey, listen, you don't know the knowledge of good and evil, so I have this shiny little red apple. I can give you more. That's his lie. And so we just buy the lie, and we constantly go, if I can get to this level, and if I try this drug, or I need a little bit more to feel a greater high. And we just constantly seeking after solutions to try and find happiness in this world. And so I need you to know something. Greed is actually idolatry. Go like this, go, huh. Do you know what idolatry is? Idolatry is anytime here's God, and you place something in between you and God that you love more than him. It's a distraction. Greed is ultimately a lack of trust. It's you saying, I'm dependent on me. I'm not dependent on God. It's a dependency problem. And it's actually a serious problem in the eyes of God. In Ephesians, it says, for of this you can be sure. No immoral, impure, or greedy person, because such a person is an idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. What? Really? Immoral, impure, or greed? You don't have a place in the kingdom of God. Huh. It's because Jesus was a revolutionary, and he was creating a different kind of people. We have to pay attention to our relationship with money. Have you ever thought of it like a relationship? If it's a relationship, like, don't you sometimes go, hey, I take some from this relationship, but I also give some in this relationship. And sometimes it's not that. It's just we obsess over it. Our relationship with money is that we find ourselves preoccupied with it. We're dreaming about it and thinking about ways to make more of it. And then when that gets to that place, maybe it's time for you to really evaluate the relationship and pay attention to the desires and the yearnings and the longing of your heart. Are you placing your trust in wealth and in your bank account? And are you living to just get rich? The Bible says those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into what? Ruin and destruction. Because, verse 10, this verse, man, for the love of what? Money is a root of all kinds of evil. And some people, they're eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. I've seen that. I'd like to make something very clear. The Bible does not say that money is what's evil. It's not money that's evil, right? It's what? The love of money. That's when it turns to sin. It's when our love and our affection are redirected to the nice and shiny things that this world has to offer, and we become eager for money. It's funny to me that we act like it's not a big deal, even though the Bible shows us that leads to destruction. And we've watched that happen to people. But we act like it's not a big deal. On the sin chart, if there is one, that's not at the top of the list. It's okay, right? It's nothing we think. I've worked hard to have nice things. What's wrong with a little small dash of greed? It's okay. In fact, in all my years as a pastor, I'm going to tell you right now, when people come to talk to me about their sin, not one time has somebody said, Pastor, I love money. Not once has anybody said that. And yet, many of us live in bondage to the love of money. Hebrews says, keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have. I love that kind of plain talk. Like, I get that. It sounds like my wife. Can you just be content with what you have? And wow, is it really that easy? If I'm loving money, then am I in bondage? So I need to be free from that? Can freedom be found simply by choosing to be content? Maybe, just maybe, we can find freedom and when we finally are content and grateful for the life that God has already given us. I'm preaching today, man. I ain't playing games. And I know a lot of people that have a condition that I like to call being terminally discontent. You ever heard of that? It's a terminal illness. And it's like we choose to stay in bondage to what we don't have because we're not free from this idea or a dream of a life that we think that we deserve. So we stay in bondage in our minds because we think that we're not happy and we're just always discontent. It's worth noting that the word contentment is talked about 5 different times in the Bible, and every single time it's related to money and finances. I heard a quote recently that just rocked my world. It was, you can't be grateful for something that you feel entitled to. I'm going to say it again. You can't be grateful for something that you feel entitled to. So we just think if I can just have this one next level, if I can just look around me and I want to have a little bit more than them. We play this game of trying to climb a ladder that, for what? And I just feel like when we look at, like, if discontentment is connected to money and finances, maybe we need to recognize that I'm not going to find it. And I just want to say it's natural to want to succeed. It's natural to have goals and financial goals and want to achieve. You're not a bad human for having those thoughts. However, I think that in America especially, we subconsciously believe that a certain amount, whatever your number is, a certain amount will give us a quality of life that affords us the comfortability that we want. And then we will finally be content. Just a little bit more. How much is the number? Just a little bit more. What's the number? For everyone in the room, it's like, just a little bit more. Jesus spoke directly to that. In Matthew 6, he said, do not store up for yourselves, what? Treasure on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in to steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. Verse 21, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. At the end of that passage, he goes for the jugular, and Jesus closes that whole thought with, you cannot serve both God and money. Clearly, our revolutionary leader, Yeshua, did not play games when it came to talking about your money and possessions. Did you know that 15% of Jesus' teachings were actually about money and possessions? Not only that, he talked about money more than heaven and hell combined. I mean, wow. He talked about it a lot. So the Bible has over 3,000 verses related to this. And I think that's because our Creator God wants us to choose Him. He wants us to want Him. He cares about our desire. He wants to talk about what we're passionate about. He wants to know what we are living for. And He wants to make sure that He is longed for more than the things of this world where moth and rust will not destroy. Let me say it like this. The Father watches what you treasure because He pays careful attention to the desires of your heart. I'm a little embarrassed, if I'm honest with you, and I'm going to confess this as your pastor, that this is my first ever giving money series. I've never done it. And I want to tell you that I'm sorry about that. It certainly hasn't been 15% of my teaching. It's probably because I can't tell you how many times I've heard, man, I ain't going to church because all they talk about is how they want my money, right? You heard that? Well, I hear it a lot. And so I've probably avoided it. And unfortunately, there's truth to that statement. There are a lot of prosperity preaching pastors who have abused their authority and they've taken advantage of the church. So I'm guilty of running the other way and not even preaching on the prosperity pastor's favorite verses that they use to beat the drum of, you need to give to me. And so I feel convicted that these verses, it's not their fault. And it actually is the inspired word of God. And these principles are foundational to my faith. But I don't preach them because I'm worried that you guys might be like, oh, he's just going to use that verse and all those prosperity. No, I'm just going to preach the Bible. And if you want to judge me because I'm preaching this verse, well, then just judge me. So here's what Proverbs 11 says. This is so amazing. It says, give freely and become more wealthy. What? That's in the Bible, yes. If you give freely you'll become more wealthy. And it says, be stingy and you'll lose everything. The generous will prosper, and those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. That's amazing. I want that. I want to refresh other people, and then God will refresh me. I want to give, and God will bless me. That's what the Bible says. And then Malachi 3:10 says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be what? Food in the house. Test me in this, it says. God said that. Test me in this, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be enough room to store it. Now, it's true that these passages have been used by evil men to get jet planes and mansions. And that's not okay. And so therefore, I've never preached on that, ever. But that's not fair to us, this body, as a church, to recognize this truth that, if I give, God's going to, wow. Because I actually live by my life by this. I actually know that, and I've experienced that, and I have blessed and seen God bless me in return in ways you would not imagine. And just because the Bible has been distorted and twisted for selfish gain does not mean that those scriptures are bad or that they are not inspired words of God, because that is the word of the Lord God Almighty. Who here doesn't want to go like, hey, wait, so you'll open the floodgates of heaven and fill my storehouse to overflowing? Yep, that's what it says. So let me teach you about this incredible passage that Malachi is talking about. It's a principle of tithe. What does that mean? The word tithe in Hebrew simply means tenth. That's all it means. Everybody say tenth. So what's the percentage that I should give? Well, the Bible calls it a tithe, and it's 10%. And so here's what I want to start with in talking about tithe. First of all, you need to know that Yahweh, our God, He's the Jehovah Jireh, which simply means God is our provider. And He is all sufficient. He doesn't need anything. He doesn't need your stuff. He doesn't need your money. He needs nothing. So when He asks us to give, what's the point? It's not because He's like going, please, please, please. He's checking on your heart. He wants to make sure that you are going, God, I recognize you're my provider. You gave to me. So therefore, what do you want back? Just 10%. Oh, okay. As farmers would call it, he calls it the first fruits. First fruits of the harvest. No matter what it is He's bringing in to you and providing for, take the first 10% and say, that's yours, because you gave me all of it. And so that's our tithe. That's what it is. Hey, Pastor, what's your tithe? That's it. And so the first 10% of what my Father gives me, I just want to say thank you, God. For my wife and I, we send that first 10% to our local body, where we're served and blessed, and where God actually helps us grow in our walk and faith with Him. And that's here, One Church. You know why? Because you're my family. This is my storehouse where I'm fed from God. It's not just a church that I lead. It's a church that I'm blessed in. It's a church that I get to see firsthand the work of God. And I get to see how the money is stewarded here. And it's done, like, I'm proud to lift the hood and you can look at the engine. Like, I'm glad to show you our finances. You ever want to see them? Come on in. There ain't nothing hidden here. Right? We love to bless people. And we're great stewards of God's resources that He gives us. And so I just want to say to you that it's not just a place where I come and attend. It's actually my church. And you're my family. And so people debate like, well, what is the storehouse? Should I give to the church? I think if you attend here and you worship here and this is where you serve, then yeah, that's your storehouse. And for my wife and I, we love to bless other missions. And we love to actually give an offering that's above and beyond my tithe. And so I love to be able to give to other people as the Lord shows me throughout the week. Like, hey, this is somebody who needs something. Okay. My first 10%, though, it's direct deposit. I don't even see it. It's like, that's serious. I'm not even thinking about it, right? Of all my income, I just got that first 10%. I'm not even, that goes to my house that you have put me in. Are you guys tracking with me? So, as your pastor, let me lead you as a pastor. If you call this place home, maybe you're watching online and you're in Norway. If you watch online and you actually call this place your church home and you watch every single week, you should give here. If God's blessing you through this ministry, then the first fruit should be. And you know what? The Bible is the one that says this. It's not Blake. It's not my opinion. And God actually says, "Test me in this. Test me in this." Can I go a little bit crazy town? I'm gonna go crazy, and I might get fired for this. Didn't run this by the elders. If you'll test me, your pastor, in this, I believe so much that God's word is true, that if you'll just try for the very first time to tithe, just give it a try for 3 months. And I promise you, you'll be blessed. There will be a return. And if there is no return, then I'll give you your money back. Why not? I believe God. It's not my word. It's his word. So try it out. Step out in faith, and maybe it's $1 for you. Maybe it's $10. Maybe it's like, I don't know, 10%. I'll do 2%. Just take a step towards God. I promise you he'll step back towards you. Whew. So, I dare you. See, there's this freedom that comes on the other side of letting go. But be careful when you do, because you'll be different. God will start to take that stingy greed, and he'll soften your heart, and you'll start to have this horrible thing called compassion and empathy, and you're like, love people? It's awful. See, generosity is never about the money. It's always about people. So why we're here, to know God and make him known, to love God and to love his people. And when this happens, you start to see the world the way that God sees the world. And he'll start to make you realize that I'm not supposed to love my stuff as much as I do. I'm supposed to love his people. And there's this statement that I've shared with you before, but it's just so good. It says, people were created to be loved. And things, stuff, possessions were created to be used. The reason why the world's in chaos is because things are being loved and people are being used. See, when we start to, you know the song, break my heart for what breaks yours. Everything I am for your kingdom's cause. That's what he does. You start to realize my heart's being changed, and I'm starting to love the things that God loves. And I see the world the way he sees it. And now I only want to invest my time and money and resources in things that have eternal value. And you start to not care about the shiny stuff of this world, and dollars just don't seem to have as much. Has anybody experienced that? So I live my life now in freedom. I actually love to be generous. I'm no longer in bondage to accumulation. And I'm being irrationally generous. It's one of my favorite things on earth. And in fact, I think, in my opinion, is that the richest people are actually the ones that give the most. I think you're rich. And I'm telling you, the old saying is true. You cannot outgive God. You give, and you give. And it's just a blessing to see what he does with it. And I want to say this. When we give, we are the most like Jesus. Think about it. Like the verse that we build our entire faith on, John 3:16, what's it say? For God so loved the world that he gave. And he gave his son. That is crazy and irrational. That's our God, though. That's what he does. Our God is a generous, giving Father who is good to his children. And I'm telling you, I have seen miracles. I have heard so many stories, like the first time I gave, I just didn't have anything, and I did it, and I was divorced, and then all of a sudden, this meal came. I couldn't afford my groceries, but I gave it to God, and the widow's mite over and over, right? Jesus was serious about this. He let the rich young ruler walk away, right? There's so many principles of like, hey, sell your possessions and give to the poor. And I've seen people do that, sell everything they have and give to God, and it came back. It's amazing how it actually does happen. See, there's this understanding that has to be shaped in your relationship with money to recognize one thing. This is what changed me the most. I'll never forget hearing the story of the pearl of great price, man who sold all his possessions just to receive the pearl. And this preacher explained that, he sold his house, sold his car, sold his kids, his wife, got rid of all of it. It's all his. And then God gave it all back to him so he could use it for the kingdom of God. Say, hey, but now that you have a house, use it for my glory. Hey, now that you have that Winnebago, use it for a band that I'm going to send to you so you can send that band on the road. And by the way, that money, it's not yours, it's mine, right? And your kids, by the way, they're not your wife. One day I'm going to take her. She's not yours. She belongs to me. I remember this whole story. I was in junior in high school. And I was like, God owns everything. Oh. So what does that mean? In logic, if that's true, then what do I own? Nothing. And then I just go, so my whole life is only to steward the things of God. It's just to steward all the things that I'm blessed with. And I think that's how you find contentment. Like I'm content with it. It's all yours. So therefore, I'm just going to realize I got nothing. See, when we realize it all belongs to him, then we go from having this scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, right? Like we live like, it's going to run out. I'm not going to have enough. I've got to make sure and hold on to what I have. But God's saying, hold on, it's all mine. Cattle on 1,000 hills. I grew up broke as a joke, like really. So I always lived like I wasn't going to have enough. And I even went to jail for shoplifting. My brother and I would shoplift. So I was at TJ Maxx one day, and I stole $75 worth of stuff. And the prettiest girl in the school was the cashier, and she saw me get arrested. It was super embarrassing. And I had to spend like $2,000 in fines and 200 hours at Oklahoma County Fairgrounds shoveling poop. It's not funny. Don't laugh at me. I went to jail and I had a prayer to God. I've never prayed like, I will never steal nothing again, and I haven't. But I'll tell you, I understand a heart problem. I understand greed. I've lived with the scarcity mentality. And I'll tell you when it came to fruition for me, when I really realized it, was when I was in Bible college, studying to be a pastor. And I've kind of always lived like I didn't have anything. And so, man, my brother decided to come and move across the country to be on a part of my life in Knoxville, Tennessee, when I was going to Johnson University. And while I was there, he hadn't had a job yet, and so he gets to town and he comes to my house and he's hungry. And that joker ate like 2 bowls of my favorite cereal. You guys don't laugh. It was a problem. And it's like heaping bowls. And I just sat there. I was getting more and more mad, and I actually made him feel guilty. Now, the crazy thing is, at the time, we didn't have anything. And we were on food stamps to get through Bible college. And so I didn't even pay for the cereal. And I still was mad he was eating it. What is that? I called him this week and I was like, Barry, you remember that, man? I just got to tell you, I cannot tell you how sorry I am that I didn't let you eat my cereal. And now I just want to invest in like Kellogg's stock. I'll send a truckload of that. How much cereal do you want, Barry? And he was like, no kidding, man. I'll never forget the way you made me feel. You are a stingy jerk. He actually didn't say that word, but he let me know, bro, seriously. What greed turns us into is just gross. I've lived like my whole life being almost like a hoarder, like just taking for myself. And the Lord has convicted me of it. And for years now, I just like want to repent for the way that I used to live. I just want to give everything I've got away. I love giving. I don't want to live with a scarcity mentality. I want to live with God has blessed me with everything I've got. He's going to give me more, so I'm going to live with this abundance. Like, you come into my house, and I have a lemon meringue pie, which is my favorite pie. Thanksgiving's coming, by the way. If lemon meringue pie's in my house, and I'm going to, like, sit down to eat that, and, like, 10 people show up, I'm like, I'm going to give it all away before I take a bite of it. Like, I'd rather you eat it. Truly, I've changed. I'm different now. I love to bless people. See, I've realized something, that when we believe that God provides everything we have, then we realize he will provide way more again, which makes me just want to give more because I know more's coming, right? And that's how my faith is actually activated. Generosity activates faith. I believe that. I've seen it. You stop holding on to stuff and you freely let loose. And you live this life with a posture of open hands. None of it's mine. My kids, my wife, my house, my car, my stuff. It's all his. That right there is a biblical concept that is profound truth that's changed my life. Let me say it like this. When our Father God wants to get something to the earth, he's not just looking for someone to send it to. He wants to send it to someone that he can send it through. You are a conduit for God's blessing. If you bless, you will be blessed. Vice versa. If you curse, you will be cursed, right? Some people say it like this. We are blessed to be a blessing. You ever heard that? I'm going to say it again. And you just say, come on, say glory, say hallelujah. Give me some life in that. You're blessed to be a blessing. Well, that was weak, but okay. So when you go to extreme poverty and you experience the people there, I'm always blown away by people that it's so obvious that first of all, I'll go and I'll have a backpack with my camera and my iPad and my iPhone and my, super nice glasses and my hat and my belt and my shoes, and I look at just what I have on my body. It's like $3,000 to $5,000 worth of stuff on my body. And I look in a house of a person that's like has nothing, dirt floor, and yet I'm always blown away by how much joy, by how much love. And it's like, wow, how can you in this condition be filled with the love and the joy of God? And then what's bizarre to me is in this mud hut in the middle of Africa, I'll look up on their wall and there's one picture of Taylor Swift. And they love that picture. And they take that picture off the wall and give it to the pastor that's from America. That's all you've got. No, thank you. I don't want it, first of all. It's T-Swizzle. But then you have to say that they're giving me the only thing that they have. So you go, wow, thank you. See, I just want to tell you a quote that's one of my favorite quotes from Ann Voskamp that changed me. She says, being joyful isn't what makes you grateful. It's actually being grateful is what makes you joyful. See, going before God and having this heart and attitude of gratitude is a very real thing. When you wake up and you don't walk in dread and misery of the day, but instead you just go, thank you, God, I'm grateful for what you have. Thank you for the life you've given me. See, I've had this incredible privilege to travel the world, and I have a nonprofit that blesses people. And I get to install wood shops and metal shops and trade schools throughout the world to help people to be able to provide. And so this concept for me is a big deal. I love to break the cycle of poverty and help people create a new sustainable life. And so for me, I've got a chance to go and see things that you would not believe. And so I just want to tell you that I consistently find people that walk in contentment. They actually are content. And I want to do something for you. Maybe I can help you see. If you allow me to give you a perspective for those of you that have never been outside of the United States, you've seen commercials and you've watched people, that are starving, and you've watched these things where people are trying to extract money. It's different when you're there. When you hug them and squeeze them and build a relationship with children of God that are in conditions like that, you're given this compassion to go, I want to live my life to bless. I'm not going to sit in my wealth and just accumulate more. I'm going to live a life that's going to figure out ways to give and bless. And because if money's just a hammer, I'm going to give hammers away to help you grow and build your life. I just want to live my life to be able to give. And so I don't know if you know this or not, but it's really weird to have water come out of your walls. That's weird. Most places in the world, people have to walk miles with a bucket in their hand and pull out of a cistern or a well 5 gallons. Then they take that 5 gallons and carry it on their head or on their shoulder or 2 in their hands, and they walk miles to their house. And then they set that bucket down, and it's used for everything. It's their cooking, it's their washing, it's their bathing. And so they don't want to spill 1 penny of it because it's precious. And it's filthy. It's gross water. So can you imagine them coming into our house? Water comes out of your balls. It's weird. And not just like one place. Think of your bathroom. You got 2 sinks, shower, bathtub, toilet. Water's coming out of the walls everywhere. In your bathroom. You know how crazy that is? Man, I have to tell you that if you drive a car, did you know that you are in the top 2% of the wealthiest people in the world? And not just that, if you have an average median income of $10,000 a year and $10 a day, that's the average income for the world's wealth. So it's all perspective. You are filthy rich, church. You're so wealthy. So let's start living this life with margin so we can be a blessing to the world. What if the church doesn't live for us, but we live for the world? We actually do. And we create a space in our budgets to say, God, show me. God, show me. Let this be a blessing to your creation. Can we in this church be a people that are a part of a generosity revolution? Okay, I want to start it today. Are you guys up for it? Let's start a revolution in the earth and be a church that God called us to. It's not my idea. It's actually not a brand new idea. It actually started 2,000 years ago. I want to remind you when it started. Let's go back and take a look. What did they do? Acts 2:42, it says, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. We're great at those. I just did a whole series called Rituals, right? We love to do those. We come to church every week, and we're fantastic at that. We got those down, right? And it says after that, everyone was filled with awe and many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. And then it says, all the believers were together, and they were one church. They had everything in common. Verse 45, I don't hear this preached about a whole lot. It says they sold property and possessions. Why? To give to anyone who had need. Wow. Like those other ones, man, we got those down. Yeah, right? We apostles teaching, fellowship, breaking bread, prayer, preach that all day, Pastor. But sell my property and my possessions. Why? So I can give to everyone who had need? Is that what you're really talking about today, Pastor? Yeah. Can I tell you what I dream about? Can I tell you what I think about? What keeps me up at night? It's being around a type of people that are actually revolutionary in their thinking. Jesus people that are constantly longing to be used by God, listening to the Father and saying, I want to hear your voice because, God, I'm eternally grateful and I'm blessed I'm so blessed that I want to bless people as they have need. Now that right there, if we actually saw that lived out, that would fill everyone with awe and wonder. And our numbers would grow daily, just like it did 2,000 years ago. Not a brand new idea. But that's what the church is supposed to look like. That's the kind of people that God wants us to be. A people who wake up and say, God, I'm so grateful. A people that say, I'm filled with joy, Father. I have your joy. And God, you've made me irrationally generous. That's the kind of people I want to be around. And it's funny to me that I've heard so many pastors preach on Acts 2:42, but they don't preach on 2:45. And so today, can I do something crazy? See, let's start with this idea. We have needs. We don't want to say it out loud, but we have needs. People come to church because they have needs. We have needs to be prayed for. We have needs to worship God. We have needs to actually have communion with one another and with the Father through breaking bread. We have needs to hear the apostles' teaching, to understand the Bible. But there are some of you today that came to church because you need money. You're broke. Maybe you need an appliance. Maybe you need insurance. Maybe you need a mortgage paid. Maybe you need help right now. And so I believe this verse to be true. I just want to test it. God's asking me to test this verse right now. And so I just want to say to you, if you're in that right now and you have a need, I want you to meet my church. I want you to meet the most radical, generous people that I know. And I promise you that if you'll stand up and say, I do need some help right now, this church will take care of that need. I'm testing you in this. Would any of you stand up and say it? Do you have a bill? Do you need help with your mortgage? I want to bless you. God, your Father, wants to bless you. This church is a place where you can come to this storehouse and you'll be fed. That's what we're supposed to do. Now, if you don't want to stand up because you're embarrassed to say that, that's okay. Would you email us at onefor1@b1church.com and we'll follow up with you. And we'll take care of your need because that's the heart of the Father. He blesses his children. Anyone? Can I just close by saying this, that who here believes that we serve Jehovah Jireh? Anybody here believe that we have a God who provides? He provides all of our needs, and he is an irrational giver. And he's blessed all of us so we can be a blessing. And I just pray that all of us will want to long to be just like Jesus and surrender our entire life, all of our stuff, all of our words, and everything we have so we can give it back to him. Amen. Father God, we give you our lives as an offering. It's a living sacrifice. I'm alive so that I can bless. I want to be like you, Jesus, who gave your very life. You laid down your life. And so, Lord, you've taught us that if we lose our life, we'll find our life. That if we give our life, that we actually will receive an abundant life. And so, Jesus, we thank you for reminding us of that today. Reminding us that you're a generous God. And so you want us to be a generous people. And so may we change our hearts. May we stop being so stingy and greedy, selfish. Father, break us of that. Help us to be more sacrificial and more giving and to be a blessing on the earth. We just have a few moments, just a few breaths. So make them count, Lord. May we hear you and be obedient to you. May we be a conduit of your love and your grace and your hope and your money. Father, use our resources in this world to build the kingdom of God. It's in your precious and holy name we pray. All God's people said, amen.